What is going on, guys? My name is Frank, and in this video, we're going to cover 3 tips on how to pick up your leopard gecko. Selling in the billions each year, Rainbow Mealworms is your one-stop shop for all your insect needs. Their quality feeders and A+ customer service keep me coming back to support the health and growth of all of our animals. Visit them today at rainbowmealworms.net to place your order. Okay, so tip number 1, which is basically way number 1, there's 3 ways that we're going to go over to pick up your leopard gecko, and it's all going to be for different age and different personality leopard geckos. So way number 1, I like to call the crawl and push. You'll see how I am gently urging the leopard gecko to crawl onto my hand. The reason I call it the crawl and push is because you're simply offering a platform for the leopard gecko to crawl onto, and if the leopard gecko is not naturally walking in that direction, you can kind of urge it a little bit to walk onto your hand by giving it a little push with the other hand. Now, this technique is really good for baby leopard geckos and small juvenile leopard geckos where you might injure the gecko or they're very flighty, so it's difficult to pick them up actually with your hand and grab them. It's also a great method to show kids if you're ever doing school programs or birthday parties and the gecko might be freaked out a little bit because there's a lot of people around, even if it's been a nice gecko before. What I tell the kids is open-handed handling. So I'll give them the gecko and the gecko will just sit in their hand and their hands will stay open the whole time. So I will highly encourage kids and new keepers to not wrap their hand around the gecko or squeeze the gecko. This will allow you to build trust with the gecko and for the gecko to build trust with you, which will allow you to move on to tip number 2 or way number 2, which is the mid-body scoop, I call it. The mid-body scoop is simply a tactic where you will pick up the leopard gecko by the middle of the body. This is really good for fast transfers of leopard geckos, but is mainly used for leopard geckos that already trust you or you already trust, and it's used for mainly leopard gecko keepers who have mid to moderate experience already with handling and keeping leopard geckos. This is because you are coming at the gecko in a predatory way. In the wild, leopard geckos will get eaten by hawks and falcons and other birds of prey a lot. And if you think about it, what does your hand really look like? It looks like the claw or the foot of a predatory bird, and so your gecko really needs to trust you when you're coming down on top of it like that. Now, leopard geckos have been domesticated for so long in captivity now. We've been keeping them for 30, 40 years to where those fear instincts are not so prevalent in them. However, especially in babies and young juveniles, they still are pretty apprehensive when you first get them. So open-handed handling and the crawl and push works really good for beginner keepers and for young leopard geckos, but the mid-body scoop works really good for older trusting leopard geckos and also more experienced leopard gecko keepers. Now let's talk about the third and last tip or trick to picking up your leopard geckos. This one is used for only the most experienced of keepers, and we did a whole video on it, which I will link in the top right corner here. I call it the quick tail release, and no, it does not mean that your leopard gecko's tail is going to release. A matter of fact, it's going to be the exact opposite. It's just a catchy phrase to kind of allow people to remember it easily. But essentially what you're doing is you are grabbing the leopard gecko by the base, which is close to the butt of the leopard gecko where its poop comes out, all the way up to about the middle of the tail is the farthest you will want to use this technique. That's because the leopard gecko's tail is the most sturdy from the base all the way up to the middle of the tail and gets less sturdy from the middle of the tail to the tip of the tail, and we don't want to encourage tail drops of leopard geckos. Now, this technique is used by only the most experienced of keepers and usually in quick pace scenarios. So for example, leopard gecko breeders that are cleaning dozens or hundreds of tubs at a time need to be able to quickly move leopard geckos from one place to another, and this quick grab tail release works really, really well. And so in this video, you will see that it is a very quick transfer. You are not necessarily going to be holding the gecko for a long period of time, I would say it's less than 2 seconds of a hold. However, in my video where I showed how to pick up leopard geckos by the tail, which I will link in the top right corner here, I showed that you can basically hold leopard geckos in this safe fashion for about 10 seconds or longer, and they're probably not going to drop their tail, but you don't want to risk it, so I would definitely not recommend doing that. My recommended quick tail release pace is usually about 1 to 2 seconds max. All right, guys, well, what did you think about this video? Shelby has done such a great job hanging out with me for it. Shelby is our super giant original moose line, which is from Ron Tremper leopard gecko, and you can see he has just these big chompers of jaws right here and some massive jaw muscles. So he's amazing. We're gonna eventually try to get him into the Black Knight project, Tangerine, wild subspecies, Fasciolatus turkmenicus afghanicus projects, but for now he hasn't bred with anybody, but he makes a good male to have on deck. So I love this boy. He was super calm when I first got him, and then whenever you're keeping leopard geckos by the hundreds inside of a room, some of your calm leopard geckos that start off calm, they can get a little bit aggressive because they're smelling other males in the room, they're smelling lots of females in the room, and it kind of puts them in breeding / defensive mode a little bit. So when I only had a couple of geckos, this guy was the nicest boy that can be. And then when I got hundreds of geckos, he started to get a little bit like kind of territorial acting, and we'll do a whole video on what aggressive and territorial leopard geckos look like. But with a little bit of TLC, tender loving care and work, they'll be right back to the same sweethearted gecko they were. And you can see he's still giving me little kisses, and we love this boy. So thank you guys very much. Please remember to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you could be notified about all the leopard gecko content videos that we will be dropping. I love you guys. Remember to be safe, pursue your passion, and until next time, have a geeky gecko great day. Peace.